Yeah, g'day everybody. Dane here from Clarkey's Rugby League column, joined by Mr. Luke Sports from YouTube, and we are bringing you a review today of Rugby League 26. Not just any review. We're going to go in depth. We're going to expose some things that you might not have realised and why this video game is worse than just an unplayable title. Thank you very much for having me on your platform, Luke. Man, how are you going?
I'm great. Thanks for coming onto my channel. Like, this is literally going to be the full deep dive. This is everything you want to know about the game, the good, the bad, and especially the ugly.
Yeah, and it's not essentially like a try before you buy or anything like that. The damage is already done for me, mate, because let's just jump straight into it, man. This was a cash grab, and I don't think people realise the extent to which. Now, as I understand it, in the recent central bargaining agreements that the RLPA and the NRL did, part of that was if 3 or more players are going to be used, then the RLPA owns the intellectual property and the rights for those players. So the players can control where they're used, what billboards they appear on, ads, video games, etc. Now, the RLPA found out about this, as I understand, from a phone call saying, hey, this is NRL club calling. Did you know our players are getting scammed today by Big N Studios? And the RLPA said, no, I didn't know that at all. What's going on? So they call the NRL, Luke. And the NRL go, oh, yes, we realise we're not going to honour the CBA with this. We're really sorry. It won't happen again, but don't worry about it. Everything's going to be all good. And as we've clearly seen, mate, it's not all good, is it?
No, it's definitely not all good. And there's so many things you can say about this game, and I'm sure we're going to cover it throughout this video, but it's just been an absolute shit show is the best way to put it. And the Rugby League Players Association through Kennedy Charrington, have come out and openly said that they weren't involved in it. So this is allegedly, but also we have a player coming out and saying it too.
These guys had 8 years. 8 years! And this is what I get? What?
Yeah, exactly. And she's a director with the RLPA. So that's about as good and strong a source as you can get, someone that leads within the RLPA. I think what really frustrates me with that is this wasn't an accident by the NRL. They didn't forget what the CBA negotiations and outcomes were. They intentionally excluded the RLPA, and I'll tell everyone why. The RLPA is actually partnered with $1 billion company from the US, and that company assists other major sports across the world, such as the English Premier League, NBA, and all your large NFL American sports there. They assist with the video games, and they do a lot of quality checks to make sure not only the player graphics, but that the gameplay is fine. And so that when the player's likeness and images are used in these games, they're at a proper standard. And that process occurs over multiple years, Luke. The issue is when the RLPA found out they were starting to do the face scanning, there was about 6 months lead up, as I understand it. So about a half a year to build a video game, when we know other major sports take about 2 years to build theirs.
I'll say that the first I'd heard of players getting scanned were from the Super League. The Super League were the first to drop player scans, and I'd heard before any sort of videos that come out and end up being quite accurate, have some Super League sources. That was all in like January, so that is very, very true.
That is like the scale to market there is completely off. And I suspect the NRL knew that. And I suspect they intentionally avoided having the RLPA involved in any capacity with this game because they would have put in some quality controls and checks. And so what this score comes out as is this is just a giant cash grab and a scam. Keeping in mind the NRL receive a massive upfront payment from Big N Studios, and they then receive a commission per copy sold. Now, you can't tell me that if anyone from the NRL sat down and played this video game, they would have said, okay, there's probably some major problems here. The last one was 8 years ago, guys. We can see you're using a lot of the same animations. There's a lot of glitches and bugs. You've got the players in the wrong positions. You've got Trey Mooney as a fullback. 5'8" are wearing 7. Someone from the NRL would have surely noticed pretty quickly, right, Luke, that there's something off with this game, you'd have to think.
You would think so. I mean, in the lead up to the game, they were saying Valandy's kids were trying out the game. They had content creators come in and play the game. But I will say they use content creators who aren't predominantly like rugby league video game players. Like, they didn't get me. They didn't get any of the ones who have done like content in the past. They use people who aren't going to play the game afterwards. Yeah, like say like Hello Sport. Yep, they got like the scoop. They got the gang. Like, you know, it's nothing against them or the ones who got brought in to do it, but they're not someone who's going to look at the game and be like, this is just Rugby League Light 4 with a reskin, which is what everyone who saw the little leaks that were coming out, that's exactly what we said. We were told by Big Ant that this wasn't the case. Obviously, the game came out, and the rest is history. It was a reskin.
You know what? I'll go one step further. I suspect you don't want to say it because it could be perceived as you having an ego or something like that. But the fact you've promoted their game, I'm talking about Big Ant Studios here, and actively played their game and are one of the very few in this country that have done it for a number of years now and promoted it on social media and in some ways kept it alive and in any way relevant, and they overlook you and grab TikTokers and people that have started creating content in the last few years. And as I said, it's nothing against them. I'm not saying anything against the creators that were selected to go there. But I just thought that was really disrespectful, man. Did you feel a little bit disrespected by Big Ant with that?
I did, but I feel like I kind of burned my bridges with Rugby League Light 4 because I was pretty outspoken about that game came out and there was a lot of problems with that game. My problem is that the ones that they did work with on Rugby League Light 4, they shunned them. Like your Odd One X's, your Insayans, all the ones who they did work with, they didn't even do anything with them.
Man, these developers, and I tell you what, all I see online, and I've had a few people DMing me because I put a few stories up with some of the bugs I encountered, and people said, just wait for the updates, and I'll stop being so critical. Just be grateful. I feel so sorry for the developers. Go easy on them. I'll tell you what I feel sorry for. The footy fans that forked over their hard-earned cash for this scam. That's who I feel sorry for, the people that were intentionally deceived. Because to me, this is nothing short of manipulation. They involved online creators and personalities. They claim there's all these new animations and the best game ever. And I firmly believe, and I want everyone to think about this question that's listening right now, if they had released a full game of the gameplay footage on YouTube before, would you have still forked out $100 and purchased it? Please be honest and ask yourself that at home, because I wouldn't have. The answer is no. And if the answer is no, well, then we've been scammed. We've absolutely been scammed. There's no other reason why they didn't release any match footage, in my opinion, Luke. Do you have anything to add to that?
I just want to say, like, that reflects perfectly with the fact that the little leaks that came out, that was so adamant that this wasn't the gameplay, and clearly it ended up being the exact gameplay that we ended up getting. You add in the fact that in the trailer too, where they was pretty adamant that this was in-game footage, they used all the animations that we saw in Rugby League Live 4. They also used a different little animation for the kick, which was a little sneaky one, which I don't know if many people picked up on, but they had a Cameron Munster kicking with his right foot across field, and the ball dynamics looked incredibly different to what we'd seen in the past, and people have now done comparisons now that the game's out, completely different. That little animation that we saw, one of the few things that looked new in the game, was completely gone.
Mate, that is deception at its finest. To deny that what we were getting leaked was actually real, to release fake footage of a game that doesn't exist, and to completely exclude the RLPA, that's the biggest one for me. The group that actually holds the intellectual property rights for all of these players to appear in the game, they were intentionally left out because they are partnered with the mob that helps the English Premier League build into FIFA, that helps the NBA build with 2K, that helps all of these major sporting organizations. That's who the RLPA would have worked with on this project. And I also got wind of this one, Luke. You'll love this one. The RLPA managed to get some of the leaks, let's call it, of the players that they were scanning. And they raised concerns with the NRL, I believe, and said, look, it's an improvement on the graphics, but that's not where it needs to be. That's not where we want our players' likeness to be. The NRL returned serve and say, well, no, hold on. It's world-class technology. Don't worry, it's world-class, guys. Then we get wind that NRLW players were told to download an app on their phone and scan their face like you used to do for like NBA 2K14 back in the day, as we spoke about. There's nothing world-class about that technology, is there, brother?
I can also confirm too that my Super League source, I asked him about this. Was this the same case with the Super League women's? And he 100% confirmed that, yeah, that is the case. The Super League women also were the same deal. The little phone sort of app, exactly like we talked about back into like the 2010s, where you'd take a few little photos, you look at your player, go, geez, doesn't really look like me. And that's essentially what's happening with all the women in the NRLW sort of version of things, and also the Super League women, I'm sure, as well. But there's a reason why they're making so many different social media posts, so many TikToks, so many Instagram reels of them making fun of how they do not look like themselves.
That's the most embarrassing thing for the developers, right? But I don't get the sense that they feel guilt or shame. The only really thing I've seen online of their reaction so far has been the Ross fella, who I believe is one of the lead developers on Twitter. And he's come out and said, oh, people are attacking me, people are attacking my family. And obviously that's way too far if it is true and confirmed. But do you know how you don't have that happen to you, Ross? If you don't scam people like you have, you were actively involved in a scam here with your company. Nothing short of a scam in what you've done here. And additionally, for him to come out and say, guys, just be patient, there's all these updates coming. I don't really remember there being that many changes from like Rugby League Live 3 and 4 from when they first dropped to now. Maybe subtle tweaks and updates as we went, but certainly nothing nothing that would overhaul the game and make it acceptable in its current state. Am I correct in that?
So I believe in Rugby League Live 4, it took, I'm going to say, roughly about 9 months, a year for the game to get some sort of an update, and it went from being super glitchy, as we're kind of seeing now, definitely not anywhere near what we're seeing in terms of Rugby League 26, but a lot of the bugs, a lot of the frustrations for the Rugby League Live 4 players, it took about a year's time. They just did one big patch. Obviously things have changed over the years where they can run updated sort of patches, but also Big Ant have a history of not being able to deliver on products. AFL 23, you go through all that, a very similar sort of situation that we're involved in Rugby League 26, if not worse. So this is what I mean. Big Ant have history, and when I was coming out and saying that, man, this game doesn't really look good, I was talking to Ross, and I was copping the whole I'm just a hater sort of shtick that he does. I'm not a hater, I'm just looking at past history. AFL 23 released with half of the gameplay not working, and it didn't work for a long period of time. What happened with Rugby League 26? We saw that Protein didn't work for a long time. The Xbox players couldn't even play the game in the first couple of days. When it finally was working, it worked for a short period of time, and then the servers went down. Even in itself, the fact that to play the game, you have to be connected to the internet. There's no sort of offline mode. You 100% have to be connected to the internet. So the second those servers are down, and as we've seen, quite dodgy, the game's unplayable. You can't do anything with it. I've mentioned the AFL game. Rugby 25 is probably the most comparable one to us, because Rugby Union, Rugby League, you're looking at it. Even in terms of their gameplay, it's not a like for like, but you can see a lot of the same animations are reused in their game. The same animations that were produced in like 2016, 2017, possibly some in earlier ones from previous games as well, but a lot of the same animations are there. They were in Rugby League Live 4. They were also in, obviously, Rugby League 26. Even some little cutscenes you would see in AFL games. Don't have a problem with them reusing animations. It's just the fact that they promise so much in terms of like, we are not reusing purely just these animations. We've got all these new ones. And then they've also come out and said that the animations that they had like quote unquote promised, these hundreds of animations as Ross put it, they were literally just cutscenes. It's pretty much it. Cutscenes are it. Gameplay wise, copy and paste. Animations wise, in terms of the actual gameplay, you're tackling, you're kicking, all that sort of stuff. You can put it side by side to Rugby League Live 4. It's a carbon copy, absolutely. Little gameplay things here and there because you're playing on new consoles. It might look a little smoother here and there, but that's the reality of the situation. In terms of Rugby 25, a lot of the animations that they did use were the exact same from Rugby League Live 4, but just looks a little smoother, exactly as Rugby League 26 does. It just looks smoother because it's a new console, and we do have those little graphics increases, but the gameplay and the execution of Rugby 25, you can ask any Rugby 25 player now. It's been about 18 months since it's come out. The fact that it's Rugby 25, they're still updating it to this day, and they still haven't nailed it. So this whole assumption that, hey, we'll just give Big Ant a little bit of time, they'll get this game right, they have no history in doing that.
And they don't have a plan. And if they do have a plan, it should be public, out of respect to the people that forked out $100. Hey guys, we understand your frustrations. Here is our current roadmap of where we're at, and this is all the things we want to implement by the end of the year with a timeline of when that's going to occur. I would love to see that as a fan. I would just go back on Ross calling you a hater. It's such a cliche comeback. Oh, he's just a hater. Prove me wrong. And in this instance, prove you wrong. Respond with some actual credible evidence as to why you're hating and why you're incorrect. It's not hard to do. And if you had developed a proper game, it would be very easy to just provide, I don't know, a 20-second clip on X. At Luke, Hi, mate. Saw you call me a hater. I appreciate your concerns from the past. Please see this new clip of all the new animations we've added. And all the
100%.
animations, hundreds of new animations, Luke. Who has ever played a video game and gone, that was a cool cutscene? I'm really glad the animations were cool there. No one, right?
None in a sports game, that's for sure.
Yeah, you skip it. It's absolutely
all I've seen in the lead up to the game when I was doing videos, the one common thing that everyone said was, we don't care about animations, we don't care about the graphics, as long as the gameplay is good. And what's the one thing that they neglected? It was the gameplay. Like, the gameplay literally was an afterthought. It was all the other little things here and there. You knew game modes that don't even work. You knew little cutscenes, all that sort of stuff. Even the first little bit of gameplay and the only little bit of gameplay that we saw other than the trailer was the players running out, and the Super League actually posted that. But it was just the players running out. Even then they looked kind of strange. I remember commenting on it at the time, running weird and all that sort of stuff. But we saw no gameplay footage, and when the leaks were coming out, kept getting told, no, it's going to look different. And the natural thing, as you said, was, hey, we'll just post a little bit of gameplay and we'll show something just to kind of prove otherwise. And they didn't do that.
If someone is calling me a hater and I've got evidence to prove them wrong, I'll show that evidence. It's that simple. Like, why would you not do it? The fact is they didn't do it because they didn't have that evidence, mate. All right, we spent about 20 minutes so far, so at some stage we do have to get to the game itself. I reckon we start with game mechanics. I'll ask a few questions. We'll go through a few of our points together. We'll just start discussing on game mechanics. So we'll start with controls. Are they intuitive, responsive, and do you feel like it's any improvement over the previous Rugby League titles?
I think at best it's comparable to Rugby League Live 4, and I feel like it's not as good. And I'm mentioning Rugby League Live 4 because if you've seen the gameplay, it's clearly at best based on Rugby League Live 4, if not a complete copy. But the actual controls themselves are a lot worse. They've removed certain things. As we saw at the release of the game, the substitutions are a lot weird. Like, it's very hard to make subs. You're making subs without knowing who's actually tired in your side, which they haven't addressed. There's little things like you used to be able to hit the D-pad and you used to be able to see the opposition players, were they tired, or who's the fastest players and that sort of stuff. That one's disappeared all of a sudden. In terms of kicking goals, the wind's gone, which was, a little bit dubious at best for Rugby League Live 4, but it's the fact that it was there and now it's not there. But actually, when people were installing the game on consoles, the wind was there. So at some point there was some sort of plan for it to be there. It's been a week now, they made plenty of changes. The wind hasn't returned. The one thing that I find is actually like the proper unplayable one is the change player in defense. You used to be able to just hit the L1, R1, and it would change to the closest player. If you held it in, you'd move over. Now that part is the same. The only problem is when you let go of these triggers, it immediately changes back. You can't change to fullback. You can't change to the player that you want to go to. And when you're seeing all these like cool little clips you see on TikTok of people playing online, majority of the time it's the people, they can't defend because you can't actually pick the guy you want to defend with. Or you do for half a second, you throw them out of the line, and the next minute you're back at your marker. And they're crossfield. Like, it's just so... The mechanics are incredibly bad for this game.
I've got an issue with that too. You're essentially forced to defend from marker. Because it's just too awkward to hold in like R1 or the right trigger if you're on Xbox. Whereas, as you said before, you used to be able to more carefully select who you actually want to defend with. And even if you wanted to defend with the fullback and compress your line, spread left, spread right, that was also a way to play the game. For me, I think the controls, look, they are largely poor and the same as Rugby League Live 4, that is, which is 8 years old. So my biggest point for this section, I suppose, is if anyone here plays FIFA, NBA, WWE, UFC games on any really major sporting game, go back and play their game from 2017 and then immediately switch to their current game. The controls and overall mechanics of the game have gradually improved. That is not the case for us, unfortunately. I think the realness in passing, it doesn't feel quite real. I don't know. I'm not sure what it is. The tackling doesn't really have rhyme or reason. Sometimes you can get them on their back, and sometimes they'll just fall forward and score over the line as well. Like it's not based on when you timed your tackle or how physical your player is against their player. And I think that's another poor aspect of it. I thought the kicking was pretty poor. It's very easy to charge down the AI and very easy for yourself to get charged down. You essentially want to catch and be kicking right away. My offloads are being consistently intercepted in weird ways where, like, it reminds me of like an under-8s game where you're like, you're standing there waiting for the ball, which no defender would really do in real life there. So that's disappointing as well. But the AI behavior, it's not all negative. There are some positives in there, and we don't just want to, like, we will be fair and honest. If there's good things to talk about this game, we will. But yeah, I still can't give the AI behavior a proper pass mark. It's probably around a C there, mate. We've kind of spoke about animations before. That was disappointing. What about the pace and the flow? Do you feel like it reflects a real rugby league game in that? Because for me, I'm still a little bit disappointed with the fatigue system. Like, one tackle fatigues you 10%.
So I will say the fatigue, in terms of me playing it recently, at least Pro Team, they've somewhat adjusted a little bit. But in terms of just the pace and flow of an NRL game, even the rules, like, it's so far from up to scratch. It's actually crazy. And they're still going off the flow from 2017. Even then, when that game was released, it even felt slow. Play the balls are literally useless, right? The biggest glitch when the game first came out was that hookers didn't get to dummy half. Even if the hooker gets to dummy half, right, the play the ball is that slow. You can make a line break, right? What's the biggest thing when you make a line break in real life? You see your players do it. They shift it cross field. They look for a bit of space. They look to gain advantage from it. Or a fast play the ball, or, mark is not square, you hit the gap. There's always this like whole momentum sort of system, and that doesn't happen in these games. They play the ball regardless of you making 50 metres, you making 5 metres driven back, finding your feet, even more now with the whole dummy half situation. But you don't benefit from actually like good play. By the time that one tackle is finishes and the next one starts, there's a set line and you just go again. It doesn't reflect a rugby league game, and especially with how fast it is in real life. Even little things like short dropouts, they're not a thing in the game. The short kickoffs are not a thing in the game. You can't strip the ball in the game. All these little things that are massive in the ebbs and flows of an NRL game, they are not in this game. And it's because they're using the same system that was for Rugby League Live 4, and they weren't in that game either, so they can't drastically change anything. If anyone's out here thinking that they're going to, all of a sudden, these things are going to be added, they're not. That's the reality of the situation.
Yeah, and the other thing is, like, although this game was only in development for 6 months, like you said, they've had 8 years. Like, it's not like they were absolutely being pushed to the max because they had to get another game out. They had 8 years to work on all of these new animations, systems, features. Short dropouts in the NRL became popular, like, I think it was 2 or 3 years ago. And in the subsequent season, they removed any penalty if you incorrectly do a short dropout or a short kickoff. So we see them a lot more now. Like, the developers absolutely knew that's a feature that fans do want to have in the game. It would be like NFL releasing without a squib kick option, or NBA releasing without 3-pointers counting. It's a fundamental part of the NRL now, and for that to be missing is really disappointing. And I'll go back to this. The Ross fella on X, his excuse for everything we just spoke about in terms of mechanics, controls, pace and flow was, we didn't expect this amount of people to be on the game, but days prior on X, he claimed it's the second most pre-ordered video game all year. So in terms of all the issues that are there, and claiming that it's just we didn't understand the popularity, and that's why this has all gone south, we're so sorry. You did, because you admitted yourself you were the second most pre-ordered game of the year. So I think that there is very deceptive, and he's almost looking for sympathy from people rather than taking accountability and saying, you know what, we charged you guys $100. We had 8 years to work on all the stuff that you're complaining is missing. He comes out and looks for a sympathy ground. Oh, we just didn't know it was going to be this popular. When, in fact, as he said himself, they absolutely did look. And I think that's the most disappointing thing, because that's just a plain lie.
100%. That's when you were saying that, everything, I was nodding my head. Like, I agree with it so much. Like, he's coming out, and you add into the fact too, it's like he has possibly the worst PR team I've ever seen in terms of like hitting back at people just making like common complaints or common questions. People were asking about like just kind of basic realistic career mode, which is a big thing on sports games. Asking just little questions with that, and either he would ignore them or he would give some sort of smart-ass response, and then he would really go in on the people who were like kind of too far, but they were the only people he responded to, and just overall how he's handled things. And keep in mind, this Ross Fowler is actually the CEO of Big Ant. He's not a social media guy. He's the straight up CEO. When they talked about the response to the game, they didn't understand how popular this game was going to be, and that I believe now he's come out and said that this game was 6 times more popular than any other release they've had in 2026. The only other game that I can think of note is the AFL game, which you look at the numbers of the AFL versus the NRL and you're thinking they should be pretty similar, right? You would think, but they stuffed up AFL 23, the previous one, and I think this is the response that people had such a bad experience with AFL 23 that they didn't buy AFL 26. I think if they had a good experience, it would be very like for like. And I think they don't understand, and also probably the NRL doesn't understand, is that they've rushed this game out, super unfinished. Everybody knows it's unfinished. Even them, afterwards, after they defended this game to the death, have now come out and said that, like, hey, the criticism is warrant. Like, we understand. And it's like, well, where was that in the lead up to it? But they don't understand that they've released this game and it's going to affect the next one too. They've taken the quick cash grab. That's essentially what it is.
That's exactly what it is. And I think they've really burnt their bridge with NRL fans. They've burnt their bridge with social media teams. You see a lot of teams mocking them online with how their characters look or their characters being in the wrong position. I will say this for Ross. Do you remember back in the day when they would do like Rugby League Live 2 on I think it was the PS3, and then they did a World Cup edition, and there'd be some minor updates and roster updates and that. If he had done this with this one and made it Rugby League Live 4 2026 update DLC, and it cost up to $50, I would actually be keeping my mouth shut right now, and I'd be saying, this is so awesome, we've got something new. But the fact that you've sold it as a brand new game, you've overpromised and underdelivered, and I think that's being modest. That's a modest way to put it. It's at very opposite ends of that. You have very overpromised and very, very underdelivered. One thing I've noticed as well, Luke, just basic rules aren't working. At one stage, I was offside and I was trying to run back to get onside, and their hooker just passed the ball straight to my player. And then all the AI were kind of like, oh, what's happening? And I was just able to run and score. So there's still basic glitches like that in the game that, again, we go back to the fact that it was only in development for about 6 months. This is why all other major sport titles around the world develop for over a year, more closer to 2 years. So the little glitches like that they're not there on the day. And the biggest thing I'm disappointed with, and the final thing I think we'll say on, or I'll say on all of the game mechanics, Ross, Big Ant, we're not haters. Prove us wrong. If there is a roadmap and you have plans to fix everything we've just discussed, please release that roadmap. I'm a project manager by trade, and I tell you what, I will design the roadmap for you for free. You tell me what you're working on, I'll design it, and I'll use Photoshop every day for my page, Clarkey's Rugby League column. I'll also do your graphic for free as well. If that information is there, I'm not hating. I will genuinely help you, and I will offer my services for free, because fans deserve to have a roadmap of what you're working on and when they can expect this game to become in a playable state, Luke, because at the moment, just basic stuff's absent, and the fact there was never any significant updates to Rugby League Live 4 or over the past 8 years to this one does lead me to believe there's no roadmap and there's no plans for major upgrades, mate, and I'm pretty sure you'd have to agree with that.
Yeah, but like I said, it's not just Rugby League Live 4, it's all the games they've made in the aftermath of Rugby League Live 4. I've talked to the death about AFL 23, Rugby 25. You'd be hard-pressed to find a fan who says that it's like a really good game. And they actually are doing like little patches and stuff. And a lot of the times they do a patch and it fixes one thing and kills off another thing. Like, it makes some things worse, some things better. Again, like you said, there's no real fix. It's like we're playing a constant beta of a game that we just paid $100 for. It just doesn't seem to add up, right? We're paying full price for a game. If EA had done this and 2K, and I know like the whole argument is, oh well, there's a small company, but this isn't a company that just started up a couple months ago or a couple years ago. They've been making games. They made Rugby League Live 2, which is a fantastic game. They made Rugby League Live 3, which is still renowned as one of the better ones. Rugby League Live 4 was kind of the one where everyone was like, oh, it's a little bit iffy, but over the years we kind of got used to it, and it ended up being like a half decent game once they patched it. But now we've regressed. It feels like we've regressed in all these years, and we didn't really expect much from it. Like, you look at the fact that it was one of the most pre-ordered games in Australia, and we didn't see a second of gameplay. I think that should tell you that we didn't have high expectations, and that's where I think a lot of content creators and just a lot of people in general, when they gave out free coins for this game mode that didn't work, it kind of was like, oh, well, at least they're doing something, I guess. That's because we're so desperate to have a game.
Pretty simple, man. Are you a cricket guy at all? Have you played Cricket 22?
I think they're up to... I believe it's Cricket 24 might be the latest one. I think I had Cricket 22 I actually did have. From what I've found with the cricket games, it seems to be like they go in like cycles of one good game, one bad game, one good game, one bad game. Definitely you'll find in the cricket community, I was watching videos of it, I believe like something like Cricket 19 or something might have been like the pinnacle of the game. Something as far back as that, which is kind of very similar to the Rugby League series, right? It seems like their technology or their style of making games doesn't really improve as the years go on like you would expect.
That doesn't, because I remember watching a fella on TikTok a while ago. He was playing Cricket 19, and I just commented out of interest, have you got the new ones? And he said, no, it's horrible. I only play Cricket 19. So other sporting communities are also being affected by Big Ant. It's not just the rugby league community complaining here. We've shown our support by making it the second most pre-ordered game in the world so far this year. And I just feel like that same level of support that we deserve as fans for supporting you financially, for building the game up with you for so long, for remaining patient for so long, it just hasn't been shown back. And so I feel that's a little bit disrespectful there as well by them. Let's go into game modes, mate. I thought career mode, as a coach, I thought there was an improvement there with the UI and the overall options and the way it feels. It's still not perfect. A few things I'd like to see is mid-season signing options, proper player negotiations. At the moment, they're kind of... I kind of like the FIFA ones where you come in and talk with them about what's important with them, what role you see. That would be really cool to see. And I'd like to see the judiciary system calm down, because a lot of the times I'm holding in the button that kind of makes your feet move slow, and I'm doing a low tackle, and my player will still take them high, and then I'll lose my player in career mode for 3 weeks. But overall, I would say career mode as a coach is an improvement, and they have done a decent job there. Would you agree? Yeah,
career mode is actually the shining light of the game, and I know personally myself when I play FIFA and sometimes NBA, like the GM modes, and you see a lot of content creators on YouTube who are very predominant. I'm thinking of Jared HD, who's actually doing some content on the Rugby League game. They don't even actually play the game when they do career mode. It's kind of like a manager mode, really. Like they just want to sign players, see the improvements, all that sort of stuff. I asked for them to introduce like potential system, things that other games have had for, 10, 15 years. We finally got them, and it seems to work pretty decent. The signing seems to work well. Like you said, judiciary is a little bit iffy, and I think it's because they're using the exact same one from Rugby League Live 4. Obviously, there's been a lot of changes with the judiciary from, back then to right now. The fines are a big thing that weren't back then. People are like doing all sorts of things, and they just pay $1,000 fine and they're sweet for the next week. Meanwhile, you're doing a swinging arm that you didn't even try to do. I'm going out and trying to ankle tap the kicker, and instead I'm swinging arm the guy while diving at the legs, and now my guy's out for 3 weeks. There's actual series I've seen on YouTube and TikTok where you got 3/4 of the side out on suspension or injury. It happens in real life. We've seen with the Rabbitohs that, it can happen, but it's not something that should definitely happen. It's that's an anomaly.
Yeah, it's the exception. It's not the expectation. Career mode, I think the biggest issues with career mode is more so still around, the game mechanics itself and controls, how it feels, but the career mode changes they've made are actually a really good improvement from the last game in that respect. What about online? Because I'll be honest, Luke, I actually haven't played an online game yet. I have just seen so much stuff online about server instability, lag, and I'm not talking about I saw one disgruntled fan saying it. I've seen hundreds. I've seen it on Reddit, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and as I understand as well, Xbox players couldn't even connect for the whole first day. Imagine waiting 8 years and you can't even play the game on the first day, mate. But what's the online experience been like so far for you?
So I'm in the exact same with you. I haven't actually played an online game. The reason being is I tried to play an online game, and because there is crossplay, I'm playing on the PC version of the game. the good aspect of it is your PC can play the PlayStation, you can also play the Xbox, and it's crossplay. That's a great thing. That's a really cool thing that a lot of games don't have. Problem is, it doesn't seem to be consistent. The servers are very dodgy. If you've ever played any of the even pro team modes that are offline, even just the game itself, it's very hit and miss whether you log in and the servers are up and let you in, let alone actually playing the game. Now, I believe a big complaint is I'm finding a lot of England fans or Europe sort of fans. They're getting matched up against Australian guys, and the ping is so bad that it's unplayable. So I've seen that be a big issue, and they're asking if they can have some sort of separation between that. Whether that's something they can actually go and fix, I don't know. But just in terms of actual general online play, if you can play it, it seems like that's probably the game mode to actually play out of all of these, because at least if we're suffering some of the gameplay, at least we're all suffering together. It's still incredibly cheesy. The gameplay of playing offline to online is completely different in terms of, stepping is nerfed up, palming off players is nerfed up. If you've seen any clips of online game modes, it's a lot of swerving around. I don't play a lot of online because I don't find it an enjoyable experience. Personally, I did in Rugby League Live 4, same can be said about Rugby League 26, but the one time I did try and play against another content creator, his servers went down, and I believe he was on PlayStation. He couldn't connect, so he couldn't even play.
Yeah, I mean, that's disappointing in itself there. You knew you had to have the server infrastructure based on the pre-orders. People weren't pre-ordering to play 10 weeks down the line. They pre-ordered because they wanted to play from day one, so you needed to have that infrastructure in place. The only game mode we'll talk about later is the pro teams with the pack opening. We'll save that for the pricing section, because there's something about that we want to touch on that's pretty unfair as well, we feel. Next section we'll talk about graphics, so player models, likeness, body types, animations, stuff like that. You've already touched on the wind. I wish that would come back. Some of the nice the cutscene animations are nice to have, completely not necessary, and would rather the effort went into other areas, but credit where it's due, it was nice. And I don't think it's an argument for me. The player models, they are an improvement on Rugby League Live 4. They're nothing special in comparison to other major titles, but they are an improvement from what we've had. Would you agree with that?
Definitely an improvement. 100% an improvement. The overall, between the menus, between the actual just general look of the game, you look at it, it definitely looks better. It's definitely an improvement. The only thing I will say, though, is that in other sports titles, I remember playing NBA 2K9, 2K10, whatever. I remember having family around, and some of the older ones would come and look at the game. They'd be like, "God, who's playing here?" And you'd be like, "Oh no, it's just me playing the video game." There is no chance that anyone is mistaking this for a video game. So while they are better in terms of cream of the crop sort of graphics, nowhere near it. They are an improvement, but also they should be an improvement because the previous one was out in 2017. So that just seems to be a given, that we're kind of giving them a pat on the back for kind of having half decent graphics just because it's better than the old one.
Yeah, I mean, they had 8 years to improve that. So if they hadn't, we already are majorly concerned. I'm not sure we could be any more concerned, but it would be genuinely baffling. The only exception I'll say to the graphic improvement is the NRL players. This would have been a really exciting time for these women to be included in a video game for the first time ever in professional rugby league history. And then I just feel like they got done dirty by making them use the phone app to scan their faces. It's disrespectful to not give them the same technology as the men. It implies you don't view them as valuable for the game as you did the men. And I do think that was a pretty poor move by Big N. A move that's really flown under the radar because of all the other controversies and mistakes of this game. That portion of what they've done has really flown under the radar. I just think that's a really disrespectful thing to do, to treat NRLW players on a different playing field to the NRL players. And yeah, I'll criticize it, but I'm one of the first people I've seen. Alrighty, Lukey, let's talk about pricing. We'll start with $100 for the digital copy. I don't think we need to debate that with anyone listening right now. It's slightly too high based on other video games. But the big thing we want to talk about in the pricing section here is the My Team that they've introduced, because unlike any other major title, you told me earlier today, you can't earn coins. You can only purchase them with real life money, right?
Yeah, no, 100%. So if you've ever played an Ultimate Team mode on a FIFA or AFC as it's called now, in terms of any other NBA games, I believe even like there's probably other games as well. I'm not sure what the AFL games and the Rugby Union games, because they have the same game modes. I don't know if it's exact like for like, but just in terms of what we're seeing for Pro Team, it is 100% play to win. There's no doubt about it, and people have questioned them online, and they're trying to play the card of, I don't understand how you're saying it's play to win. But the only way for you to use this little auction market is to go and use actual money, and instead of like the currency that you would get from playing games from other sports games modes, where FIFA, I can get a good team without spending a cent on this game. There's no chance. There is no chance, especially now that everyone got given the whole bunch of coins. The actual game mode just shitting itself for a couple of days and being unplayable. They gave us compensation. That's great, but they didn't tell us this auction house that hadn't been available since the day it was released, that nobody really got to see. You kind of just assumed it was going to be like Ultimate Team or the NBA My Team, and it's definitely not the case, because you can't just use your in-game currency. You've got to go and use your purchase one. So they're using the argument that, if we gave you like 24k and you don't have to buy packs, you can go and use that on players. But realistically, I went onto the market last night and someone is paying like $70 just to get like a Stephen Crichton card, for example, or even more if it ends up going up even more. And my problem is it's gonna kill the game. Who realistically is going to be spending $100 to get a 90 rated player? And if you're a new person of the game who didn't get any of the free packs, which I don't know how many people are going to buy the game realistically with all the new titles coming out, but if you're someone who didn't get the free ones, you're screwed. This game mode is no use for you. Like, you can't do anything on it. It's pay to play.
Not only is it pay to play, but I feel like fans are kind of purchasing packs at the moment under the fake guise that these updates are coming. And as we've touched on thoroughly throughout this video, it's the evidence as to why the updates are likely not coming and why we're not just haters. We're going off, what's happened historically with Big Ant. People are spending upwards of $100. I've seen a Harry Grant gold card selling for over $100 at the moment, and they're essentially spending $100 on something that has no resale value in the future, and it has no tie to anything of in-game currency. It's a microtransaction they've added to the game that, in my mind, is preying on children and adults to a smaller extent, because we've got a bit more life experience and can, more likely than a child could see that pack is worth nothing. But I can definitely see children and young teenagers asking to borrow their parents' card. Mum, can I have $20, please? I want to buy some packs. Getting excited, they're getting a gold card or whatever, only for these servers to continually be poor and that card to be worth essentially $0, because no one's going to continue playing this game mode unless it receives major updates, which we've already said we don't think they're coming. So the microtransactions here, I think it's a little bit predatory to add them to the game, not allow any option to earn them except for real life money. And then, like I said, look, I just don't see it holding any value. If that Harry Grant gold card is worth $100 a year from now, I'll come back on this channel and I'll eat this hat right here. I will literally eat this hat.
How much do you reckon
eat it?
How much do you reckon it'll be worth in a week's time?
That's the thing. Like, how quick are people? People are just excited now because it's a new game. This is a new feature. But if we actually stop and pause, guys, does this feature have longevity? Are people going to be consistently purchasing $50 packs and opening and trading and selling so many cards in the future that this marketplace remains viable? Going off history with rugby league games and the feedback we've seen so far from this one, absolutely not. So it might still be for sale for $100, Luke, a week from now, but it'll never sell for that amount. And realistically, it's probably not even worth $5 if I'm absolutely honest.
And history, if it's anything to go by, the rugby league titles don't genuinely go on sale. It's not like in 6 months' time it's going to be $50 or $40. That doesn't seem to happen with these games for whatever reason. You still could go try and buy the Rugby League Live 4 game and you're still paying $80, $90 for it 8 years on. I'm assuming that's probably the same for the AFL games, maybe to a lesser extent because they come out quite more frequently. But yeah, like this whole assumption too that is going to come on sale in a couple of months' time. I don't necessarily agree because none of the others ever have. Maybe a couple of years later, it might drop from 100 to like 80, maybe something like that. But just in terms of all these packs, even down to the contract system that they've got in previous games, FIFA and all that, it was super cheap. Like, it doesn't really make a difference if you have contracts. They're so easily obtainable. On this game, they're not. So these people are going to be going out and spending all this money trying to get these top-notch players, and they have a lifespan of like 15 games, whatever. Then you have to apply a contract. The only way to get these contracts is through packs. What are you going to do? You're going to have to spend money to buy packs because you can't really do it through just playing games. And that's the thing that separates the big game modes that are very similar to this, but have the same look. That just as a visual, this looks like it's just Ultimate Team mode. And when I was describing it to people, I said, "Oh, it's just Ultimate Team mode, but for Rugby League." It is very similar, but it's way more scammier in that sort of aspect. And I really don't like it. The more I see of it, the more I dislike of this game mode.
Mate, I think we've probably covered about absolutely everything. I would like to think we've given one of the more in-depth breakdowns available on YouTube for everyone. And as we said, this wasn't so much a try before you buy review for you guys, because if you're watching this, you're probably in the same boat as us. More than likely you are. You've already spent your hard-earned money and you're just disappointed. So I'll finalise with my final assessment here, Luke, and then I'll let you finish as well. This is how I'll finish it nice for you guys, nice, short, and sharp and sweet. This wasn't an unfortunate situation where a video game release has missed the mark. This was a calculated scam and a cash grab by the developers and the NRL in conjunction with itself. They knew this game was rushed. They knew it was unfinished. They knew it had no quality checks and balance throughout its development, and they intentionally excluded the RLPA to ensure they could get away with this scam and not have someone pull them up. We as the consumer and fans of this sport have been scammed. I'm speaking up for us all. We deserve better. And the saddest part about everything isn't what I just said. It's that I'm still going to play the game and you're still going to play the game because we love footy so much and we love footy video games so much. And this is what we're dealt with. We 100% deserve better. Luke, that's my finishing comments, mate. How would you like to sign off this pod?
100%. You summed it up perfectly. Is that all of these flaws, we're still going to play it, and I think everybody knows that we're all going to play it. I'm still going to be making videos on it. You're still going to be playing it. Everybody who's watching this is probably still going to be playing it. Have a copy of it. We're not going to be selling it. A lot of people actually did refund it, but the whole plan with that was they were going to rebuy it at a later date when it gets better. So, end of the day, NRL kind of got what they wanted in the end. But, at the same time, there is something to be said at the fact that they did rush out this July 17th release. And I know personally that they were still doing ratings up until the 10th. They 100% rushed this. This isn't like an opinion. This is kind of a fact that they rushed it. All you have to do is just look at the gameplay, play it for yourself. And you know it's not a finished product. It's just the fact that all these new games, all these other sports games that we've talked about from EA, from 2K, they all come out in about a month's time. So I don't think it's a coincidence that they didn't want to push this back and try and compete with them, because as much as we love Rugby League and we're going to play it, we've got it now. So we can always go back to it. Would you be purchasing it over EAFC 26 or NBA 2K26 or WWE? Would you be purchasing that game over, Rugby League 26? Add in your Grand Theft Autos and that sort of stuff that's going to be coming out as well. I think there's a reason that they pushed this as hard as they did and pushed it forward and forced the release. No,
well said, mate. And to anyone that's here from my community coming over and checking out this video on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to Luke on YouTube. The option will be just below. He'll have all the updates as they do, or hopefully as they come. More if they don't, he'll keep you updated with everything on Rugby League 26. He's done it for the last 8 years with Rugby League Live 4 when others dropped the game pretty much straight away. He's continued to be a really strong force in the Rugby League video game community. So make sure you guys subscribe to him. And Luke will give you his outro now.
Man, what a ride that was. That was a deep dive and a half. I just want to give a massive shout out to Clarkey for coming onto the channel. Obviously, he's got a massive platform, one of the biggest in the whole NRL community. But I've known Clarkey for a long, long time, and he definitely was someone who did videos on Rugby League Live 4. So his involvement in the video game community, it goes a little bit under the radar. So look, massive shout out to Clarkey for using his platform, coming onto the channel and speaking his mind, and also going in depth in terms of contacting the Rugby League Players Association before all the Michael Chemmer stuff come out and the RLPA have come out and sort of said a little bit here and there about the game, or little things have leaked. Clarkey actually was contacting them beforehand. And you got to keep in mind, guys, this isn't me and Clarkey or anyone in the community wanting the game to fail or anything like that. Like, we really wanted this game. I mean, I've built my whole channel around a game that was 8 years old. I mean, even Rugby League Live 3, I was doing content on it. I've been doing video game content on Rugby League for about 10 years. So I definitely didn't want this to fail. In fact, all I'd done in the lead up to the game was hype it up, and then obviously we got little leaks here and there, and I was very alarmed by it, and obviously I was alarmed for good reason because we've seen the aftermath of it. Since the time of recording, which has literally been 1 day, there's already been a lot more things we've got to talk about. I mean, the overalls, the positions, all that sort of stuff. We didn't even really touch on that sort of stuff, but positioning of the players was really bad. They've kind of fixed one thing, and I've touched on it in the video, that we fix one thing and then they ruin another too. That kind of seems to be the big ant way, at least in 2025. Now, if you already thought the overalls were bad, they're definitely even worse. Like, some of the player ratings right now are absolutely abysmal, but that's for another video. But this was your deep dive into Rugby League 26, an analysis exposing the NRL, exposing Big Ant, exposing Rugby League 26 as to why it was a complete failure. Well, that's the end of this video. If you happen to enjoy it, make sure you leave a like, subscribe. You know the drill at this point. Everybody YouTuber says it. Just go ahead and do it. It'd really help me out. Also, why not go ahead and check out some of these other videos that are on the screen right now.